So our learning objectives is to explain the effects of climate change and then to evaluate the effects of climate change as well. So having a look at which has got the biggest impact. So just a little recap to start with, just so you can remember what we did last week. So we had a look at what climate change is. So we said that climate change refers to the large-scale, long-term shift in the planet's weather patterns and average temperatures. So we said it's very different from the weather, which can change minute by minute, hour by hour, whereas climate change is the average conditions over a long period of time, and that the climate is changing. And then we also had a look at, well, what's causing that to happen? So we had a look that there were some natural causes of that happening. So volcanic eruptions actually brings down overall temperatures due to the amount of sulfur and other greenhouse gases that emits, blocking out the sunlight. We looked at the Earth's orbit around the sun and how sometimes it's closer to the sun and further away, and that can affect the climate. And then we also had a look at the sun's output, how much heat energy that gives out. We then had a look at some of the human causes. So we had a look at things like deforestation, farming, burning fossil fuels was a big cause of climate change, especially in recent years. So we then had a look at this up here, the natural greenhouse effect and then the human enhanced greenhouse effect. And we learned that due to human action and the amount of greenhouse gases being admitted into the atmosphere, that means the atmosphere thickens up and the sun's heat actually can't escape back out into space. So overall, we're warming up. So what we need to know about is, well, what are the effects of this? How is this going to affect me and you, okay, and the rest of the world? So that's what we're going to focus on today. Okay, so when we have a look at effects in geography, and we'll have used these terms many times, we'll have a look at the social effects of something. So climate change is what happened. Last week we looked at what causes it. We're now going to have a look at, well, what happens as a result of that. So a social effect is all the effects that it has on people, so people's health, people's happiness, families, connections, that kind of thing. Economic effect is all about how it's going to affect the economy, so to do with money and to do with jobs. And then environmental effects, how's it going to affect nature? So first task that you're going to do today, and remember there is always some instructions outlined on your Teams and email work. So task 1, pause the video. Can you think of a social effect, an economic effect and an environmental effect of climate change? When you're ready and you've had a go at that, press play and we'll have a look at some possible answers. Okay, so some possible answers. I might have come up with some different ones. So some possible social impacts. So remember, social's all about impacts on people. So people's homes could be flooded. If sea levels are rising, we're getting more extreme weather events, people's homes could be flooded. Unfortunately, there could be a loss of life due to more extreme weather events as well. And also summer heat waves that could put pressure on our NHS due to people's, reactions to that, problems with dehydration and so on. An economic impact could be the cost to defend coastal areas. So if there's more erosion and sea levels are rising, we're going to have to pay to put some things in place to protect those areas. Also, things like ski resorts that really rely on the snow for people to come and visit and ski, they may be affected because there might be a lack of snow in that region at particular times. And then an environmental effect could be coastal erosion, droughts, floods, and some species that are in these affected areas could become extinct. Now, just have a quick think. What do you notice about all of those different effects that I have outlined there? So you should have picked out that they're all negative impacts. So what I want you to do now, task 2, is in a second, pause the video. Can you think of any positive effects of climate change? Okay, so you should have had a chance to think of some positives, and there are some things like, typical British person always complains about the weather. Well, we might be getting hotter summers, milder winters, so that's something that would may be good for us. Also, that might then improve tourism in the UK because people might not go abroad as much if our weather is better. Also, we might be able to grow different fruits and vegetables that we haven't usually been able to grow, and we've had to import them from other countries. So things like that, but you might have thought of many more. There's also quite a few listed on BBC Bitesize if you'd like to have a further look at positive effects. Okay, so moving on, what you're going to have a go at now is you're going to have a go at a fact-finding task. So don't worry about reading all the questions that I've put up there. That's over on Teams and emails as well. So task 3, you need to pause the video and you need to have a look at the fact finders worksheet. So you need to find the answers to these facts using the next few pages of information that's over on emails and on Teams. So if you could do that now, please. Okay, so moving on, the second objective is to evaluate the effects of climate change. So when we evaluate, we weigh things up and look at how serious some of these impacts might be. So task 4 is, which of the effects of global warming and climate change do you think that will most negatively impact the world? So there's no right or wrong answers with this task, and the purpose of the task is for us to share opinions on what we think and what we think effect might be the worst. And if we're in lessons, we'd then be able to discuss that and all have a little bit of a debate. But obviously, I'll read through your answers and see what people have put. So all of them are very severe effects. So that's why I say there's no right or wrong answer. But I want you to do a bit of evaluating and think, in your opinion, what do you think is the biggest effect? So if you could pause it now, please, and have a go at task 4. And then there's one more task after this. Okay, and then the last task, task 5, I'll just talk through this bit of information first, and then I'll outline your last task of today's lesson. So climate change, we've already learned throughout this lesson, it has many effects. It can even affect our health. So there's a bit of information there, like things like diseases. They may increase due to more humidity and heat in certain areas. It doesn't really matter where you live, whether you live in a small rural village, a coastal town or a big city, we're all at some point going to experience the effects of climate change. There's some bits here about basic necessities are going to be disrupted, so food. So there might be things like hunger and famine as increasing, as it's more difficult to produce yields of crop due to droughts and potentially places becoming more desert-like. Air pollution. That's going to lead to massive health problems like asthma and other respiratory illnesses. And then water, warmer waters and flooding, that's going to expose us more to diseases in drinking and our waters. So it can have huge impacts on our health, as well as what we've already had a look at today. So the last task of today, and you've got a little bit of freedom with this task, whatever you want to choose and pick. So I'll just put the instructions up. Just bear with me. So what I want you to do is to create something to warn people of the effects of climate change. So it can be absolutely anything we've covered in this lesson today, or you can go away and do a bit of extra research into the effects of climate change. And what I want you to do is create something that warns people. So it could be a poem, a song, a speech, a leaflet. You could do a cartoon. It could be a protest poster. It can be as creative as you like. But what I want you to do is have a go at that. And then please remember to save all your work from today. If you've handwritten it, brilliant, take a picture of it, upload it to Teams. If you can't get on Teams, upload it to emails. And if you've typed up your work to get today, again, save it and then upload that onto Teams. If not, upload that onto emails. So thank you for joining me again, Year 8, and I hope you're all safe and well. If you have any questions about anything covered today, please email your geography teacher. Take care. Bye-bye.